And I think in life, you go through tough times. Everyone has their own stories of when things weren't so good, and they've had to. Sometimes I think we don't give ourselves enough credit. Like, we're totally capable of picking ourselves up and keeping going. Think back to the worst day of your life. Well, you moved from there to here, and you got through it. So what did you do to help yourself get through that? Or there's only two choices, isn't there? Like, you either give up and let it go, or you go, okay, that's not working. Let's look at plan B, or let's approach this from a different angle, I think, and just try and, but we already do that every day. We just probably don't realize we're doing it.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Connected with Melissa J. Scott. That's me, and I have the most beautiful guest today who is a personal family friend, almost like family, I think. This is Jayne Lawson, and her business is Black Wallaby Wines. Is that what it's called, Black Wallaby Wines?
It is, yes. Hi, everyone.
I never was winery or wines. And I've asked Jayne in to speak today because she's in the wine business, and I think everybody is intensely interested about that, to be quite honest. But also because we're going through some incredible times in Australia right now. At the time of shooting this, we have come through drought. We have come through bushfires. I don't know if you guys got flooded. Did you get flooded?
Not this year, but we've been flooded a few times.
You've been through incredible floods. That's right, being farmers, and then you've actually had a personal family, really incredible time in the personal family where you had to step up, and you've got your 6-year-old nephew living with you as well for a period of time. I'll let you talk about that. And now we've got this COVID lockdown on business and industry, which has decimated some of your core business. So what I love about you though, Jayne, and a lot of people that I see on the land, is this dogged determination and resilience. And I'm a farmer's daughter, as you've come from the farming background. I'm married to a farmer now. You're a farmer. You've just shared with me that you're lambing. You're out there like
Juggling.
helping lambs find lost mothers. Like, it's quite exceptional. You have 3 children under the age of 6 yourself, plus your little nephew Will living with you. I just admire you guys so much, what you're doing, and people in far easier situations are complaining a lot more than you. So I thought it'd be really good.
Thank you.
I thought it'd be really great to get you on.
Some days.
Yeah, I know. I thought it'd be great to get you on the show and have a chat. So can you do me a favour and just introduce yourself to us and tell us a bit about the farm and a bit about the winery, and then we'll kind of lead into kind of resilience. I think will be the theme for today.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much for having me on. What a lovely opportunity, and a nice thing to do on an overcast Friday morning anyway. So it's quite cold down here now in Victoria. We've dropped from about 26 to about 15, I think, overnight. So perfect day to be sitting in the office doing this, having a chat. So yeah, my name's Jayne, obviously, and I've married a beautiful man called David, and we've been lucky enough to inherit or be the second generation into his family farm. We've got 175 acres along the Loddon River, and the river borders our whole property, or 2 sides of the property, and it's really a beautiful piece of land. It's a little piece of paradise. We probably don't utilise the river as much as we should. However, we have been since this social lockdown that we've had, and we can't see anyone, so we sort of been finding some really fun things to do around the property, which has been great. Things we wouldn't normally have time for, so that's nice. We've got 40 acres, or I think it's about 38 acres of vineyard, and we also do a bit of cropping for our own stock, and we run sheep and lambs as well. So we've got a few eggs in the basket. We also make our own wine from our own fruit and sell that under the Black Wallaby label. We are located in central Victoria, just about 40 k's out of Bendigo. So, yeah.
Well, you guys are amazing. So I've known you for many years. You're actually the sister of my brother-in-law, which kind of makes you family. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it is. Once removed, twice removed. Yeah.
And, so I've known you for years, and what I get the most from you guys, and Dave, your husband, is an awesome guy, is your incredible attitudes in times of that are less than favourable, challenging times, and I like to keep my language really positive, as do you. So in less than favourable times, you guys are so resilient. So you just came through pretty terrible times of drought, and then the bushfires. Do you want to talk to us a bit about kind of what your experience was in that in Victoria?
Yeah, yeah. I think with the thing is, and I think this is, I actually saw something really interesting the other day on the news. Try not to watch the news too much, but I jump in just to have a quick catch up on what's going on. Um, and someone made, actually, it was in the Q&A on ABC, and someone made a little bit of a comment about how, you know, because as human beings, we just tend to focus on the one crisis that we're in at the moment. So obviously a couple of months ago it was the bushfires, this huge massive crisis, and now we've sort of moved on from that and just kind of forgotten that it happened, and now we're onto this new COVID-19 crisis. um, I have been thinking for some time about the drought. um, it's not over for us. I mean, we're pretty lucky down here. We've had a bit of rain, but central New South Wales and Queensland are still, and other parts of Victoria are still in massive, massive drought and dire, dire need of water. And there's a lot of politics behind it too, because there is water available, but it's not accessible. And there's a lot of farmers that are fighting very hard to try and get access to the water that's flowing straight past their front door that they actually pay for anyway, but aren't allowed to have access to. It is quite political, but for those guys, that this COVID-19 is full on, but that's still a very real problem for them, and it hasn't just gone away. It's still a huge crisis for them, not being able to, put the water in the troughs for their stock, or irrigate some of their crops, because we haven't had any great rainfall for some time. Although we did in the last 24, 48 hours, have had a little bit, which has been great. And we're always very grateful for any drops that we get. But yeah, the drought has and still is a major issue for a lot of the country. It's just at the moment the media aren't focusing on it, which is interesting. And same with the bushfires. It's still devastated communities that aren't back up and on their feet yet at all. But now the focus again is off that, and it's on something else. So yeah, I read somewhere that some of those bushfire victims are still living in tents and things, as well as having to be in social isolation at the same time. I mean, I couldn't even imagine that. It would be just horrific.
So isn't that amazing what you say? And so I'm from the bush myself. I grew up in the Riverina, but I moved to Sydney at 17, so I'm quite removed from it now, really, from a personal point of view. It's just through connections and family that I sort of still understand. And my dad only just recently sold his farm, but that's probably what I understand about farmers is that what we do in the city here, and I'm just generalizing, but and we sort of follow the media and we flip and we flop, and whatever the media is telling us, that's where we're kind of at now. And we're very egocentric right now in this middle of this COVID lockdown in the city, and we're all very woe is me, and not enjoying the isolation. And I sort of thought, well, and what I just heard when I asked you a question about the droughts and everything is straight away you took it to talking about people in a far worse situation than you. You didn't really focus on you. And I think that's probably key to what is actually an intrinsic part of what people from the land do, is that it's shit for me right now and this is the situation. And we'll talk more about some of the other stuff going on for you guys. But straight away you took the focus to somebody else doing it harder and worse, and your heart goes out to them. And I think, do you think that's part of coping with tough times, is not
Oh,
egocentric?
yes. Yep, absolutely. We, like, for example, this year we just recently harvested our fruit, our crop of grapes. We've had a lot of people ask us, how did you go? How did you go? Dave and I are just so incredibly, and his parents, who are still very much a very active part in the farm, even though they've retired, they still are out here all the time, particularly Dave's dad is out here. This is his this farm runs through his veins. Like, he's just very much, he loves that he can drive away, but also loves he can come out and be part of it. And we were so grateful that we got any fruit off, because there were, vineyard farms all around Australia that were smashed by those bushfires. Like, they lost their entire crop to the smoke taint, or we all got frosted at the beginning of the year, and we only had a very light frosting, so we lost sort of 30% of our crop. But I mean, we still got 70 tonne off, compared to other wineries and vineyards who got absolutely nothing, or their entire vineyard was burnt to the ground through those fires. South Australia is just devastating. And I think that's the thing. You can look at it and think, oh, well, we only got 70 tonne off. Geez, it would have been nice to get 100 like, last year or the year before. But the fact that we got any and the fact that we still get some money in the bank, in a couple of months is we are so grateful. And that's what you've got to focus on. You can't be looking and feeling sorry for yourself. Oh, we only got the 70 off, because you look at your neighbours only 3 hours down the road and they got nothing. So
Yeah.
we know how hard it is and
Mm.
how many hours go into work. It's 12 months work every single day, 8 hours in the vineyard every day for 365 days. And then to lose the whole lot in one event, is whether that frost or fire or flood. For us, one year we were flooded, or birds or grasshoppers. There's a multitude of things that can go wrong. But it's just devastating, absolutely devastating. And sometimes you think, how do you get up and keep going again?
That was actually my question. Like, I wrote down, I'm taking notes, and I wrote down trauma.
Yes, yeah.
So how do you guys keep coming back year after year after year after all this trauma? How the hell? What is it?
I feel like sometimes it's because you don't have a choice. You just get up and go again, and it is hard. But I think it wore Dave's parents down a lot in the end. They had some really hard years. Like Dave's dad, you can talk to him, he'll tell you about, oh, we've been flooded, we've had fire, we've had frost, grasshoppers, hail, like absolutely every natural disaster you can think of.
Yeah,
Um, but and then we've lost contracts as well, and they haven't been renewed because they, it's or whatnot for different reasons. And
that's
so,
contracts with big wineries. Is that
oh yeah, yep, and they're wonderful, but they're wonderful when it's working well. But like any big massive corporation, if it goes slightly pear shaped, you're in a bit of trouble, or if it's not really what they're looking for or something. Which they've got to run their business too, but it is, as the grower, as the farmer, and I know there's a lot of farmers in the dairy industry, for example, the grain industry, exactly the same for all of them.
yeah.
But yeah, it is hard. Sometimes you think, and I know Dave's parents were thinking that in the end, like, oh, what are we doing? You probably feel a little bit like flogging a dead horse a little bit some days. But yeah, I think it's, as I said, it runs through your veins. I think
Yeah.
the land and the
So
farming.
that's interesting. So this is a podcast all about connection. Do
Yeah,
you feel it is that connection to what you're doing, your sole purpose in life? It is in your blood. It is just part of who you are. Is that what you think
yeah.
it boils down to?
Yeah, I think so. I think it helps. I think it helps Dave and his family that I was brought up and bred on a farm as well, and from farming background, and my parents as well. Because I don't know, maybe running around as a little girl, around in the sheep pens, and with the shearers and all the rest of it, and just playing on our bikes for hours on end, all up the back of the property, and getting up to goodness knows what. That was very much, again, that sort of runs through my veins. But we moved off the farm when I was sort of 8 years old, I think, and then I didn't come back to the farm until I did with Dave. In 2015, we moved back out here and took over from Jim and Sue. And really, I think even with that huge gap of time between the two experiences that I've had on the land, it was like coming home. It really was. And I think it was the same for Dave, very much coming home, and you feel it's where you belong, and your heart is just full. And even when it's hard, and sometimes you think life would be so much easier to live in town, and there would be so much less complication to live in town, and services and things can be an issue and all sorts of stuff like that. But then you think, oh, I don't know, like, I don't think so. When it comes down to it.
So passion. I mean, and I just want to point out too, you've had other experiences. You're not just a small town country girl. You lived in Europe and England for how many years did you guys? You worked and travelled all around.
Yes, yeah, we lived in London for 4 years,
Yeah.
and we took every other weekend. We were travelling to some different country over there. I think we did something like 56 countries or something in the time we lived over there. We
Yeah.
really made the most of our time. Yeah, I mean, that's the only sort of big city I've lived in. But yeah, I've lived obviously in Wagga and Bendigo and other bigger towns as well that have got populations over 100,000. So it's not like we're just a tiny. Dave
Yeah.
and I haven't sort of lived and travelled and experienced city life too.
Yeah, and I love that. So I'm getting a sense that do you think it's community plays a massive role in building the resilience and building that whole, because that's one thing that's coming out of this COVID thing is this, we're all in this together.
Yes.
And I feel like country, 'cause having grown up in the country, I know this for a fact, country people always feel like we're in this together. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's this little town is, yeah, they are rock solid, this town, this Bridgewater. The support, and so the support that we've had leading into before all this COVID stuff started, the support that we've always had with our wines has been amazing. And in saying that, we support the community by sponsoring events, giving our wines away to charities, and sponsoring the local football netball club, and those sorts of things, in the schools. So it's definitely a give and take sort of scenario. But in return for that, our client base from, our customers, from our local area are wonderful, and even so the whole shire, not just Bridgewater itself, but the kids go to a school in the middle of a paddock 40 kilometres away, and there's every child at that school is bussed in, and those families, because they're from all over the shire and the district, and those families buy wine from us. So they know we've got this wine. So it's not just Bridgewater itself; it's the entire Loddon Shire that support us and look after us. And then when things went sort of a bit pear shaped with my sister, and we took Will on. My nephew, and he's living with us. So when that happened, all of a sudden I had food being dropped around and
yeah, so
babysitters turning up.
just back up a sec, because I know what happened. So
Yeah.
just really sum up quickly what happened to your sister at the end of last year in the middle of all the bushfires. And you guys are an incredibly close family. So what happened to your sister back in December?
My sister Leah she has twins, and she also had, at the time, she had a tiny 6-week-old little baby girl, and the twins are male, female, and little Hayley was unfortunately diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia, and has been living in the Royal Children's Hospital with her mum and dad for, oh gosh, I don't know, we're on like 4 months now, 4 or 5 months almost.
With a newborn baby, unbelievable.
Newborn baby, yeah, yeah. And Will was there with them on and off for some time, and he sort of spent time with all of us, going around all our houses, and with his grandparents on both sides and things as well, which is lovely over the summer. But when it came to the school year beginning, we had to make some tough decisions on where he was going to go to school, and the obvious thing was to probably go and live with my mum and dad in Albury, and keep continuing going to his school that he was at. However, they are 3.5 hours away from Melbourne, from the Royal Children's. So we offered that Will might like to come and live with us, go to school with Ruby Sue. So on the bus at 7:30 in the morning with Ruby, which he's loved, I think. But he's a real country kid, and he loves the farm. So it was a better option, because it meant that we could meet halfway with Leah and Steve to drop him off or pick him up, so that he could go and have every second weekend with his parents and his sisters, and not miss out on Riley as well, the little baby. So, and that was wonderful. And Hayley really needs her twin brother as well. So that worked really, really well. And up until this COVID outbreak, and unfortunately that has meant for Will that he hasn't been able to see his parents nor his sister now for a month about now, and we don't know when it's going to be safe for him to sort of have contact with them, just because Hayley is having a bone marrow transplant, so she is unable to have any contact with anybody that's could possibly be carrying even just the common cold. Like, she can't be exposed to anything.
Oh, so just I've got chills, Jane.
Yeah,
Because I know you guys as well. It's hard, but anybody even listening, it's just that's a full-on story. So, like, with all the challenges that you're talking about, and then this is just another thing that's sort of come in, and you sit before us, and I know you're bright and you're. But this is real. You're not bunging this on just for our chat. You just
No, it's what's happening. It's our life.
so
Yeah.
how do you are never online complaining or whinging or moping around, like, and you've also now just want to point out is that because of the COVID thing, a big part of your income has just gone with the hospitality and restaurant business shutting down. So people that would have been ordering from you now don't. You were supposed to go to an expo tomorrow, you now can't. That's where thousands of dollars of income come from. You've got all this stuff going on. But what all I see you doing is actually innovating. Can you tell us about, firstly, can you tell us about the innovation you've got with your answer to how you're dealing with doing the drive-through cellar door, and then also twofold, and then talk about why you think you can just keep coming back and bouncing back, bouncing back, bouncing back. What the hell is it? What's the secret ingredient?
Oh, so yeah, well, it's quite funny because before it sort of all blew up in Australia, Dave said to me, I think we need to get on and start doing some posts about this COVID-19. Like, it's not good, everything's going to shut down. Well, I was sort of giggling away at him, thinking, surely not. That's, worst case. Can't, no, because we're a bit removed from it all out here as well, which is lovely, I have to say. Great place to self-isolate out here. In fact, we already self-isolate normally, so, so not much has changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, we so he said to me, get on and do some posts. So I did a bit of a funny post of this girl sitting in bed drinking all these massive glasses of champagne, which was because I was kind of making light of it a little bit, because I think at that point Australia had not cottoned on to what was about to happen. Really, we still were very removed from it all, which was nice at the time. Within a week, it had blown up, and Dave saying, I told you, you need to get on and start marketing. So I did. So what actually happened, I was inspired by someone else, some friends of ours who also have a little winery over in the Barossa, and they started doing a bit of a drive-through cellar door. And I'm thinking, I said, oh, that's a genius idea. So I can't actually take credit for the idea, and I wouldn't, obviously, but I haven't seen anyone else do it though, only those guys. And I'm sort of standing at the front window because we don't have a cellar door as yet. So our face-to-face sales is always at the festival that we've lost out on, which is tomorrow, and the wine tastings that we go and do at the restaurants and bars that we sell into, and obviously that's all stopped. So our face-to-face contact with people has come to a grinding halt, which has been a bit challenging. But this has worked in our favour because I'm standing at the front window looking out. This is my dining room window, looking out the window thinking, we could do this drive-through, because out the front of our house, we've got this roundabout, this lovely front garden with a roundabout. You drive in and around past the front door, around past this lovely landscape garden that my father-in-law's put together, with rocks and all sorts of lovely winding path and everything. So I said to Dave, this is not silly. This is a good idea. This could work. I could hang a sign up outside. They could pull up to the front door, pre-order through Facebook or email or text message, whatever. Pull up at the front door. I'll have it packed ready for them. I'll load it into the boot for them. They don't need to get out. So I've got my gloves and everything. I load it into the boot for them. And then we've got our card machine, which has PayWave on it. So I wrap that in Glad Wrap, which a beautiful local friend of mine gave me this suggestion to wrap it in Glad Wrap in case it's orders over $100. So no one has to, no dirty fingers touching the keypad or anything. So they go out, if it's under 100, obviously, that you can, just tap and go. They pay for their wine. I load it in the boot, and then we say thank you very much. And I can hand it over from 1.5 meters away, which is good, 2 arms lengths. And it's as simple as that. And then they drive off. So it has been an absolute hit. They're loving it. The punts are loving it. So
I love that, because I've been talking a lot about that with my clients in the marketing space and going, this is a time for reinvention. So, get your website up to date, be able to make those sales online or through Facebook, however you are doing it. Get the message out, amplify it like crazy. But the big core thing is reinvent the way you do the service. Now, I've seen so many people just go, oh, well, that's, I can't go to that expo. That's tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of orders just gone, vanished. I'm like, no, you've just got to do it another way. You can video. You can, oh my God, I do what you did, like is just bring the service to them. So I know that after we finish this, you're going to get in your car or van or whatever you've got, driving to town with a whole lot of orders to drop off to people.
I do, and that's the other thing we're trying to do now. So I popped up a post yesterday and said, attention Bendigo locals, I'm coming into town to do a wine delivery tomorrow. Does anyone have any orders? I think I've got 6 orders to drop off this afternoon. So they've either direct debited that into my account. Most of them have done that, or I can take my card machine to them. And we just, again, I can do all that, taking care of everything with gloves and whatnot as well, which I will do, because obviously I mean, we've been self-isolating out here for more than 14 days, but the general public don't know that. So it's important that we still showing that we're taking it seriously and it's not a joke, and and that we are doing everything. We want people to feel like they can trust us, and when we say that, we can deliver a service or offer a service in this time that's not going to put anybody in any sort of danger or anything like that, or especially vulnerable people, that we can offer that service and be true to our word there. So that's really important as well. But yeah, I think that delivery. But it's funny, we've got a lot of Bendigo people that are just needing to get out of the house, so they're enjoying the drive out. So it's sort of a half an hour drive to our place, and they love. Obviously, they drive in here, and we are very lucky. We're right on the river, so we've got beautiful views, and it is lovely. So they really enjoy coming out and having a look, and just getting out of the house. I think going for a drive has been a really nice thing for a lot of people in town.
Their essential service. I just want
Yes, that's right, for their essential service.
yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes. Yes.
That's what's beautiful. So I love that you total innovation. And so I would imagine that you will continue with this service long after COVID
Oh,
is been gone.
yes, absolutely. I said to Dave, there's no reason we can't do this. We are licensed to be a cellar door, which has been like this has been a great thing. And I just checked with my father-in-law because he did the liquor license years ago, and he said to me, well, we're licensed to the front door, Jayne, so that's great. So you're absolutely, legally allowed to do this. And I thought, oh, that's lucky.
Oh,
So we are licensed to have people come into our home and taste our wines. But because I've got 4 little kids here and the house is often not to my standard of how I'd like visitors to come into, and especially at this time, I would never ask the kids to have to, put their toys away all the time and not be able to play and be at home in their own space. So yeah, this is offering a wonderful service, and yeah, and we should be launching our online cellar door next week, which I have been working on for about 4 or 5 months now since I did the connection marketing course. That's been a huge, right at the top of my list.
amazing. So what are your tips then? Because you just keep looking on the bright side. I've been taking notes. Because I want to summarize what you're saying, because you probably do this so organically and so naturally. You don't even, if I said to you, what are your top 10 tips on resilience? You'd be like, oh, I don't know, you just do it. You know what I mean? So this is what I've been getting from you. It's just like embrace what you can do, embrace what you have at your disposal right this minute, and work with that.
Yeah, I think too, I mean, I've always been a very glasses half full person. My whole life, I have been like that. And I think in life, you go through tough times. Everyone has their own stories of when things weren't so good, and they've had to. Sometimes I think we don't give ourselves enough credit. Like, we're totally capable of picking ourselves up and keeping going. Think back to the worst day of your life. Well, you moved from there to here, and you got through it. So what did you do to help yourself get through that? Or there's only 2 choices, isn't there? Like, you either give up and let it go, or you go, okay, that's not working. Let's look at plan B, or let's approach this from a different angle, I think, and just try and. But we already do that every day. We just probably don't realize we're doing it. So using those connections, and obviously the connections of your community around you, people want to help. They want to help, particularly in business. Everybody now more than ever, people want to help local businesses and want to help support the butcher around the corner, the baker across the road. Like, it's really, we've got a fruit and veggie delivery happening out to Bridgewater now. A wonderful friend of mine set that up. So and then what she did is, rather than just keep that idea to herself or share it with just her close friends, she actually put a shout out, just started a little group on Facebook and invited anyone she could think of, and then opened it up for all the rest of us to invite people in the area that might benefit from that service. So here in Bridgie, we have no supermarket, we have a bakery, and we have a local butcher up the road, but otherwise we have nothing. We have no supermarkets, no fruit and veg, nothing. So we have to always go into Bendigo to get anything. We do have a little tiny IGA just up the road, but sometimes with this situation, there's that you can't get everything you need from there. So yeah, we've got this fruit and veg delivery happening now every week, once a week on a Wednesday, and now meat and milk as well, from another local Bendigo producer. And what they do is they drive to the football oval. We've got time slots that we turn up. We're not allowed to get out of our car. So the veggie man's there with his van. Everything's boxed up. We've paid direct debit already. He just opens the boot, throws our box of veggies in, and we drive away. No one gets out of their car. Nobody's breaking the rules, the distancing rules and all the rest of it. So community is just so important, and
Yeah.
rather than just keeping those ideas to yourself, or thinking, well, now we live, because for us it's, as I said, we sort of used to this social isolation a little bit anyway, being out on farms and things, but not to have those essential services has been really tough. So yeah, we're trying to look at other ways that we can not only support a local business, but also support one another in a community where there are really vulnerable elderly people out here. We have a lot of friends that are recovering from sort of cancer scares or things like that really can't go to supermarkets, so they really cannot drive into Bendigo and be in there. It's just too risky.
So that's what I'm hearing as well. There's a real this sense of community, but this real we're in it together, and it's coming from a completely selfless place,
Yeah.
and is deeply connecting you guys to something a lot bigger than just looking out for yourselves. And I think that has got to be it. And what you've done with your sister, like I know that you would never have even questioned for a moment to not take your nephew in, even though with all the challenges that you've got, like you would never not ever not do that for her.
Oh, no, no, not in a million years. We're very lucky. We're very well set up for it. That's what, when Dave and I were discussing it, Dave said, well, makes total sense. We've got enough seats in the car. We've got a massive house where,
Yeah.
we're absolutely, and loads of space. So it's not like we're sort of trying to squeeze 4 kids into a little 3-bedroom house or something. But
I know that you would have done that anyway.
yes, yeah.
You would have done that. So I'm just going to read you your business mission, because I find what I'm getting is you're so connected to, and we did this when you did the course with me last year. I'm so stoked you did it. Like you really connected to what we were talking about, because it's all about connection, and you got really personal and deep with what your business is all about. And you and Dave are working on it at nights, and I love that. So you wrote, our family's promise is to grow and create outstanding wines using sustainable farming practices that showcases quality Australian produce to the world, using passion, love, and commitment as the key ingredients. And I think that's what's coming through is the passion and the love and the commitment. Like these are your true values, and you live to them every day of your life. So any challenge that seems to get chucked at you, you seem to be able to just cope with, because you're living so authentically to who you are.
Yeah, yeah. I was just thinking too. I think sometimes our travel has really helped us as well. We've been to some countries where, like we've been to a couple of African countries where people, it's just one example, where people are living in absolute shambles, like just the poverty and oh golly, it's just, and they're amazing. They're some of the happiest people you'll ever see in your life. And you think, wow, I sometimes wonder, the more we have, the more we want. And, sometimes when we're forced to stop and face challenges head on, it does make you think, well, I've seen people, a lot worse off. Geez, if they can do it, I can do it, kind of thing. And
Yeah.
so having that sort of connection to the rest of the world, I think, and being able to get out of your own head and sort of go, wow, it's bad, but it could be worse, that kind of
Yeah,
thing is so.
a lot of people have been commenting on that actually too. It's like they're sort of like I've been noticing in the past few weeks that they're really quite traumatized about being self-isolated at home, and it's really bringing to light about our white privilege, how much we think that we deserve and what we think that we're entitled to, and we're still, even in the isolation, we're still so incredibly lucky and safe. No one's barnstorming into our houses telling us to get out and leave. No one's taking our possessions. No one's hurting us physically. We're
Yeah,
such a better shape, and our perspective is a bit skewed as to what we really, if people are whinging about not being able to go out to their favourite restaurant or not being able to go swim at a beach, people live in that every day of their lives. They don't have a clue. Our privilege is what's coming out of this for me, and watching people unravel how they're not responding well. And that's the difference, I guess, with the people off the land, and this is what I was sort of talking about before. You guys are confronted with challenges all the time. So when something comes to you, you just bounce and roll with it and just find a way.
Yeah, and that's probably, I mean, there's probably never been a better time to be sort of on the land, because we are able, like, we're essential workers obviously, but we already work in isolation mostly. So, yeah, you can definitely have more than 2 meters apart from one another. So, out here,
Yeah.
no problems with that. So we kind of, it's business as normal for us out here. So it's sort of, apart from not being able to see our friends, and apart from it's hard to watch the kids a little bit, like they're really missing their friends, they're really missing school. We are actually on school holidays at the moment in Victoria anyway, so I kind keep in my head, I keep thinking, yeah, that they're at the end of 2 weeks of a holiday, so they're a little bit stir crazy anyway. But we've just, the kids can go and ride their bikes outside and run around and things. So there's never been a better time to be out here, really. But you're exactly right. You look at it like that and you think that's great, but then 2 days ago our tanks were almost empty, and thankfully we got 30 mil of rain the other night, and so now they're sort of half full again, which is wonderful. But I said to Dave, oh gosh, we need some rain. Those tanks are down to about, like, I don't know, about a quarter of the capacity at the minute, and in another couple of weeks we're going to have to do another water order. We're going to have to get another truckload of water trucked in and things like that. So those those kinds of things are happening to us every day. Like, you're sort of always faced with the next thing, the next
It's
problem,
a challenge. Yeah.
challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't
And
even call it a challenge, you call it a thing.
yeah, and also, like, forward thinking. So if everything shuts down for us here, we had, so Dave and I are thinking, what can't we, what on the farm, what do we have to have? Like, we need the pellets we don't have enough feed for the sheep at the moment. So because we haven't had any rain, so we don't need um, to be worrying about stockpiling cereal boxes for really that much. What we need to be worrying about is getting, like, bulker bags of sheep and lamb pellets so that our stock don't die. And we need to make sure we've got a couple of bags of milk replacer for any orphan lambs, because if our local farmware or our local stock feed shuts down, then we're in trouble.
Mm.
Because we can make do without cereal, as we just eat something else. Like, we'll find something in the pantry to eat, but the stock, that's not possible for them. They need that
Yeah.
feed. So yeah, so it's different challenges, and that's what I think. I think every day you're so used to it that it just rolls on from one to the other to the other, and yeah. But never before, I think, I really do hope that from this, gosh, I hope from this that the government look at how important our Australian farmers are and how they have to look after us, because I mean, really, when you think about it, apart from travellers coming in and out of the country, we shouldn't need to be importing anything into here. We can do everything here ourselves. And we live on an island. So we shouldn't have this COVID thing here at all, really. If you took all the travelling out, if you didn't have people coming in and out on planes, and you stopped the shipping of produce and things in and out from Asia and stuff like that, if we could just be self-sufficient here in Australia, we shouldn't need, we shouldn't need to be worrying about it. And
I
the
agree with
thing is,
you.
though,
This is an opportunity for everybody to ask those questions. Well, why do we bring in all those goods and product, all that produce that is grown in Australia? Why?
yeah,
What do you
our dairy farmers are having to shut up shop all over the place, and that's unnecessary. It doesn't need. And then we're getting milk imported in from Canada and all over the place, and you think, what? Why? We've got perfectly good functioning dairies and cattle, and we've got amazing, I mean, nowhere in the world is going to produce the beautiful healthy food and produce for our population, for our Australian citizens, than your Australian farmers. Nobody is going to produce better quality for you than us.
Beautifully
So
said. And I think that whole sense of community, why aren't we looking after our own? We're not questioning that enough, me included. We don't question that enough, I guess, until now when we're looking at where it's all coming in from, and now it's brought to the attention. So yeah, I really, no one's really been talking about that much. I think it's wonderful that you bring that up and it gets put forward as being, as it could be a good end result from all of this.
I
And
hope so.
I think there's going to be a lot of end results from all of this. There's going to be a whole lot of changes of lifestyle, the way we spend our money. I think it's going to be an incredibly different time when we come out of this.
Yeah, yeah, I think so, and a whole new appreciation for schools and teachers, I think, as well, healthcare and hospitality, services and people that work there. Obviously, you already see that happening now, but, um, yeah, I've done some stints in hospitality, and it's, sometimes it is hard when you're getting sort of looked down upon as though you're the pleb that just serves the tables and things, but all of a sudden, we miss those plebs more than ever, like
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything that I've missed that you want to mention about? Because we were talking, this is all about resilience and connection. Is there anything that you think that I haven't brought up about what it is that really makes people resilient and how to cope in challenging times?
I always find for me, I always find, and I talk to my sister a lot about this as well. She probably gets very sick of me saying it, you know, often say, "Oh, yeah, I know," and no one's taking away the severity of, but you feel what you feel, and some people cope better than others with certain things and challenges going on in their life, and no one should ever take it away from you how you feel. Like some people really do struggle with anxiety, and I'm not really an anxious person sometimes, but not really on a daily basis, which is a one lucky me. But there is a lot of people that are, and that's a real condition. That's not a joke. That's not something that's I think that is actually a real problem for people, and when I say real, I mean it's really real. They're not making it up. They're not
Yeah,
being dramatic. Um, I think, and I often say to Leah, like, oh gosh, I know it's bad, but at least da 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 da, and I try and
yeah,
do the heart glass is half empty all the time for her, and I always say to her, I'm not taking away from you how bad this is or how difficult this is, how challenging this is. You are so within your right to cry and grieve and all the rest of it, and say it's not fair and stamp your feet and all the rest of it, because we're all entitled to feel like that. And at one point or another, we all will feel like that. But then it's really important to go, okay, all right, I've allowed myself to feel like that, but that hasn't changed anything, has it? Like, we're still here, we're still in this same situation. Feeling like that and thinking like that isn't changing it. So, what am I going to do? Like, am I just going to sit here and feel sorry for myself, or am I going to turn around and go, okay, could be, take a big deep breath, could
yeah,
be so much worse for this or that, or, whatever reason. I need to be grateful for the things. Gratitude is a huge one, I think. I need to be grateful for what I have, and what it could be, but it's not. Thank goodness for that sort of thing. And I think this opportunity to spend time with your kids at home is just, and I have to keep reminding myself to do it too, because as I said, it's business like usual here. So I have to keep thinking, I'm so lucky to have these kids home here. And we're very lucky. We've got a tennis court out the back. I'm thinking to myself yesterday, I need to get off the computer a bit and doing my work. I need to be outside. I need to be teaching these kids how to hit tennis, obviously not everybody's in that position, but you could be reading with your kids. Like, how often do you say, I just don't have time to do this. I don't have time for this reading. I don't have time to play that board game or do that jigsaw, or, share that moment, the colouring in, get the blocks out or the Lego and build. I mean, we were all kids. We all loved doing that as kids. So, if you've got the kids, do it. Definitely
yeah.
do it.
I've been
And tap
seeing
into,
Yeah,
hey,
I've been seeing some cool stuff on because we used to do this with our kids, and we did it when we were growing up. All these beautiful cubby houses in the lounge room with sheets over tables and pillows and big pillow fortresses and all the cushions off the couches and everything. Just getting back to basics.
yeah,
And I walk my dog every afternoon. There are that many people and families out walking their poor old dogs, which are getting walked into their life now. Yeah,
yes, yes,
it's nice, and I think to myself, the fly. And I think to myself, why haven't I seen you guys out before? What a shame it's taken
yes,
years to get you out before. I move around a lot of woo-woo circles, the real personal development circles, and there's a lot of people saying that we've collectively actually wished this upon us, that we've asked for this shutdown,
yeah.
slowdown in our worlds, and this is what the universe has thrown at us to actually make a lot of people stop, take stock, look at what's important, and then reassess and then move on from there. So
Let me share this very quickly. Sorry, I know you're probably going to go. This very very funny this thing. So today I just, as you do, you get up having coffee and I'm having a little scroll on Facebook, and I do actually love that at the moment Facebook's a very positive place to be at the minute because everyone's working so hard to support each other. So it's a lovely community too.
Your
But
feed. I'm glad my feed's positive, but I know a lot of people aren't. But
yes, well, they need to change following then.
exactly.
So some friends of mine who we actually met when we were in Thailand on a holiday, we were next door neighbours to one another, and we got chatting to them in the swimming pool, and they're a lovely couple. Anyway, they live in London, and they go to the theatre a lot. Well, obviously they can't go to the theatre at the moment, and London's in full lockdown. They can't leave at all, not even worse than us here in Australia. And anyway, he's so gorgeous. So they've made these theatre tickets. So we're talking about grown adults here. Like these guys are in their 30s. So they've made these tickets, and they've got on it. So they've got their little what seat they're in and what row and whatnot. Anyway, so she's got it all on video, just on the iPhone, and she knocks on the door, and he opens the door dressed, and good evening, madam, welcome to the such and such theatre. I see you're in seats this, that, and 2A in row B. So when they walk, and she goes in, and then it cuts to him standing behind the table with wine and wine glasses, and he's like, "What can I get for you tonight, madam?" So he sets it up like she goes to the bar. Then she goes and sits down on the couch, and they've got this theatre production on. They've obviously pulled it off Netflix or somewhere. Anyway, it's a famous one, but
Yeah.
he holds his towel up over the TV, and then as the production starts, he pulls the towel up as though it's the curtain raising, and then she watches the movie, and then at the end he drops the curtain back down as they're all taking a bow. And I just thought, and they got dressed up as though they were going to the theatre.
Yeah.
They had wine at intermission and chocolate, and it was just classic. And it was, I don't know, about a 2-minute video, but not even probably, but it was just a snapshot of what, so I do think that bonding time, I was thinking to myself, what an awesome thing to do. So, I mean, I was talking a minute ago about having children and being able to do things with kids, but even if you don't have kids, like what a really fun thing to do with your partner. And just,
Yeah. It's just mindset, isn't it? Like it can be a real. I'm a bit disheartened by some of the negative stuff I'm seeing about people going, "Oh my God, I'm so sick of such and such," and that. I'm going, you have to flip that thinking. This is all about being resourceful and resilient again. You got to flip that thinking and really find each other again. It's an opportunity on
yeah,
so many levels.
It is, and it's just crazy how I think, they talk about with children, obviously, because my background is in education and teaching. So they talk about with children how one of the biggest issues we now have with this generation, like my children, and probably even yours as well, that they're so used to having everything, so entertained. They just have everything at their fingertips all the time.
Yeah.
They're being shipped off to different sports and different extracurricular activities all the time. They've got all these devices. They've got everybody's entertaining them all the time. There's never an opportunity to be bored. When you're bored, the best creative and imaginative things start to, blossom. And I'm definitely seeing that with my kids. They've got secret hideouts, and I'm thinking, where's the secret hideout? And they're like, oh, it's near the shearing shed. Just be careful of that brown snake down there. Like, oh,
That's a unique country problem. It's funny
definitely.
that because I was raised by farmers and I raised my kids. I found a little village in the city on a river, and I actually tried to raise my kids like country kids, and they were swinging out of trees, and
Yeah.
they never said they were bored. I had one son who used to say once in a while, he'd go, "I'm bored," and I'd always say, "Only boring people get bored." And so
Yes, yeah. That's exactly right. It's just such a it is. You've just got to. I think you've just got to let them be bored, and that's what we're seeing and hearing more and more and more now on through the education system, is just that they've got to be allowed to be bored, and particularly when they're really young, because if they can build those skills when they're my children's age, 6 and 4, and build those imaginative creative play skills, then they really have those skills for the rest of their life.
comes back to the resourcefulness again, which we've been talking about this entire talk, is we learn how to be resourceful probably as kids on the land, way more resourceful with our imaginations because we didn't have all these things at our fingertips, which is now what we're putting into play now, how to be
Yes,
resourceful in challenging times.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah,
What a great point to end on.
yeah.
Thank you so much, Jayne. We went through all that to get that one pearl of wisdom.
I know. Isn't it funny all the way around?
Can you give us a plug for your business? Let us know your domain names, how to reach you, because I reckon a lot of people will really love having just listened to you and would like to try out your wine because you're award winning. Like you guys are serious winemakers. So can you give us
Yeah.
a plug and how to buy your stuff?
Yeah. No, Dave is a wonderful, wonderful winemaker, very passionate about it, which all obviously stemmed from growing up out here in the vineyard and setting up the vineyard with his dad. And we met at university, actually. I was doing teaching, he was doing winemaking. So we've had that beautiful opportunity to go all around the world making wine and, and things like that, which has been wonderful. So he's brought those skills and that expertise home, and combined with his love and passion for it and for the land. And we're all about sustainable farming. That's really important to us. And we are moving more and more and more into that, not just with our vineyard, but also with our sheep, with our cropping as well, our practices right through, and the regeneration of the land along the river banks and things like that. Dave's dad's important to him too, so it's been very much sort of a big part of where we're heading in that direction with our farm. We've got big plans of building a big winery one day.
Right.
This has put that on the back burner a little bit. It was going to happen a little bit earlier than it probably will now, but that's okay. Look, you got to roll with the punches. It is what it is. We'll just do this drive-through cellar door and online sales. That'll do us for a
Yeah.
while. That's
Yeah.
keeping us anyway. I'm certainly not needing. I don't. It's not like I've got a ton of spare time, so so it's certainly working. But yeah, you can find us at blackwallabywines.com.au. And you can read all about our family and meet the makers and all those sorts of things and see what's important to us. As I said, the online sales should be up and running next week. It's all but done. We've just got a few little shipping things we've got to work out.
So for anybody watching later down the track, that'll be mid-April 2020. So
Yes,
that's fantastic,
yes.
which is when this will launch.
Yeah, we're there, and otherwise we've got Facebook accounts, and so please jump on and follow us on Facebook and like what we do. And we share a lot of personal stuff on Facebook. There's a lot of stuff about the kids and the wines, and our wines are named after the girls, and they're very, very much a part of the entire process. They absolutely love it. Madeline, the middle one, wants to be a shearer and winery. I'd like to be a shearer and a winery when I grow up. So
That's so beautiful.
she's 4. So she's all over it. And the other day, would you believe and you might resonate with this, Melissa, she says, Mum, I really just want one of those mother sheeps to die so that I can have a lamb and be a mummy sheep to that
Oh my
lamb.
God.
And I was like, oh,
Yeah.
so so funny. I just thought like out of the mouth of babes. But yeah, just absolutely hilarious. She just wants an orphan lamb so she can feed it and look after it. Like they just love it.
I love it. I just love the conversations you have. It's a completely different conversation what's going on at your house than what went on at my house.
It is. It really is. Yeah, Mad will tell you all the other day, learning about why the rams are in a separate paddock to the ewes and all sorts of things. And they rang my mum and told her. So
Oh, it's beautiful. It's gorgeous.
the
Thank you
birds and the
so
bees.
much, Jayne. Thank you for your time. I so appreciate it. And if you want to get in touch with Jayne, I highly recommend you can do it through Facebook. You're very active on, and the website. So
Yeah, and Instagram. We're on
and
Instagram.
Insta as well. Awesome. Thanks so much. And thank you guys for tuning in to Connected with Melissa J. Scott. And I'll see you next week. Bye bye.